6 months after my sister's death, I heard her voice again. But what she told me that night was something I wish I had never heard. My name is Rose, and I used to have a really close relationship with my sister, Tishiamo. We did everything together. But about a year ago, she passed away in a car accident. It was hard to get through, but eventually I started to move on. At least, I thought I did. One night, I was home alone. It was a Friday night, and I was just watching TV. Nothing out of the ordinary. My phone rang, and I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it anyway. When I picked up, there was static on the line, and then a voice. It was Tashiamo's voice. It said my name, Rose. I froze. My heart started racing, and I couldn't speak. I thought I was losing my mind. I heard her voice again, but it sounded strange, like she was far away. She said, Rose, you need to listen to me. You're not safe. I hung up. I didn't know what to do. I sat there, staring at my phone, trying to convince myself that it was a prank. But the number called again and again. I finally blocked it. I told myself it was just some sick joke. Maybe someone knew about Tashiamo and thought it would be funny to mess with me. But the weird thing is, after that night, strange things started happening. I would hear footsteps in the house, but no one was there. Sometimes, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and feel like someone was watching me. And every now and then, I'd hear Tashiamo's voice again. Sometimes it would come from my phone. Other times, it felt like it was right behind me. One night, I got a call from the blocked number again. It went straight to voicemail, and when I listened to it, all I heard was heavy breathing. Then, Tashiamo's voice whispered, "Don't go into the basement." I was too scared to even go near the basement after that. But that night, I heard noises coming from down there. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly walked down the stairs. When I got to the bottom, I felt this cold, eerie presence. It was like someone was there with me. That's when I saw it. In the corner of the basement, something was crouched in the dark. It was too shadowy to see clearly, but I knew I wasn't alone. I ran back upstairs and locked the door. I haven't been in the basement since. I still don't know who or what was calling me, but I can't shake the feeling that whatever it wasn't my sister, and it's still out there, waiting. Guys, comment your names. I will use your names for upcoming stories. True, scary story. My name is Ariana, and this happened when I was in college. I had just moved into my new apartment, and at first, everything seemed fine. But then, strange things started happening at night. It was around 2 a.m. when I first noticed it. I was lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, when I saw something out of the corner of my eye. In the corner of my room, near the window, I could see a shadow. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, or the way the streetlight outside cast shadows, but it didn't go away. It was just standing there, completely still, like someone was watching me. I sat up and stared at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The longer I looked, the more certain I became that it wasn't just a shadow. It was darker than the rest of the room, like a figure standing in the corner. My heart started racing, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I wanted to turn on the light, but I couldn't move. It was like I was frozen with fear. I don't know how long I stayed like that, staring at this thing, but eventually, I got the courage to reach for the lamp next to my bed. I turned it on, and the shadow was gone. Just like that, it disappeared. After that night, I moved out, but I'll never forget the feeling of being watched by that shadow in the corner. Guys, comment your names. I will use your names for upcoming stories. True scary story. My name is Olivia. This story still haunts me, and I can't shake the feeling that I narrowly escaped something terrible. It all started when I matched with a guy on Tinder. He seemed charming and sweet, and we hit it off quickly. After a few days of chatting, he invited me to hang out at his place. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time. He lived a bit outside the city, but I didn't think twice about it. I arrived at his house just as the sun was setting. The house was older and sat at the edge of a quiet, empty street. No other houses were nearby. It gave me a weird vibe, but I brushed it off. When I knocked on the door, no one answered. After a few moments, the door creaked open by itself, just enough for me to step inside. The place was dark and quiet, too quiet. I called out his name, but no one answered. My heart started racing. Something wasn't right. That's when I heard it. A soft noise, like shuffling, coming from upstairs. Against my better judgment, I walked towards the stairs and slowly made my way up. As I reached the top, I saw a light coming from one of the rooms. My instincts were screaming at me to leave, but I pushed forward, my curiosity getting the better of me. When I peeked inside the room, my blood ran cold. There he was, the guy I matched with, standing in the middle of the room. But he wasn't alone. Behind him, tied to a chair, was a woman. Her eyes were wide with fear, and her mouth was gagged. She looked at me, desperate, as if begging for help. The man turned towards me with a slow, eerie smile and said, "You're too early." I froze. His words chilled me to the bone. That smile. There was something sinister behind it, like he was playing some sick game. My heart was pounding in my ears, and I could barely breathe. Without thinking, I bolted. I ran down the stairs, out the door, and into my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key into the ignition. As soon as the engine roared to life, I sped away, not daring to look back. I called the police, but when they checked, the house was empty. I was too terrified. I blocked him on Tinder and tried to move on, but I can't stop wondering what would have happened if I'd stayed. What was he planning? And what happened to the woman in that chair? How would you rate this story? Share your rating in comments. True, scary story. People say that if you stand in front of a mirror, turn off all the lights, and say Bloody Mary 3 times, a ghostly woman will appear. Legend has it that Bloody Mary was a woman who died a terrible death, and now she is trapped in the mirror, angry and vengeful. When you call her name, her spirit is summoned, and she appears with a blood-soaked face and hollow eyes, staring at you through the glass. Some say she will scratch your face with her sharp, ghostly nails, while others claim she pulls you into the mirror, never to return. The scariest part is that people who have tried the ritual swear they have seen her. Sometimes they feel cold air rush by, or they hear her whispering before she appears. Those who survive the encounter are left with deep scratches or marks on their bodies, as if she had really touched them. Would you dare to summon her? Tell me in comments. True scary story of La Llorona comes from Venezuela. It's about a beautiful woman who was once named Melissa. She was married and loved her husband deeply. But one day, a terrible lie changed everything. A jealous neighbor told Melissa that her husband was cheating on her with her own mother. Blinded by anger and betrayal, Melissa didn't ask any questions. She grabbed a knife, went straight to her mother's house, and killed her without mercy. Her mother, with her dying breath, cursed Melissa, saying, "You will suffer forever for your sin." After Melissa returned home, she discovered that her husband had been innocent, full of regret and guilt. She was now cursed to wander the roads as a ghostly figure known as La Llorona. She roams the lonely roads of Venezuela, appearing to men who are unfaithful. She appears as a beautiful woman at first, dressed in white, luring these men into the night. Once they are alone, she reveals her true, horrifying form, a terrifying skeletal figure with burning eyes and sharp teeth. She attacks the men, ripping them apart in a rage, making them pay for their betrayal.